Steve from Sneaker Tech Talk, back with another video today. For today's video, we do have a early look of a performance review on the Converse Shai 1, SGA's new signature shoe that we'll be releasing in fall 2025. So without further ado, let's take a look. All right, so some of you might be asking, how did I get my hands on this shoe over a month early? So earlier this week on Tuesday, I did fly out to New York City. Converse did fly me out for a wear test event. They gave us a lot of cool items, and one of those items were the Shai 1 from Converse. So we spent around 4 or 5 hours on court with this model, going through some training with the assistant coach from the New Orleans Pelicans. It was a really cool experience. We trained for about 2.5 hours, then we played some 1v1 and some 4v4. So it was really cool to spend some time in this model earlier this week. And then I played in this model Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and now today, Sunday. I'll be playing in them tomorrow as well, but I have a really good idea on how this shoe performs. You know, I've spent over 14 hours in this model this far, and there's a lot to like from Converse on SGA's first signature shoe. And that takes us into the traction, one of my favorite features of this shoe right here. So you kind of have this wave pattern running throughout, kind of like this herringbone pattern from the heel all the way to the toe. And then you have these little slits running in between this pattern. Now, initially, I was thinking this was more or less the same outsole on the BB Trilliant from Converse, but once I got these on court, I knew they were different. The rubber compound was a bit softer, and just the coverage that you get with this outsole. Obviously, at Nike, the floor was like pristine, super clean, so it was super tacky all the way through the 4 hours. But then I played on 3 other courts since getting home, and I'm happy to say that I haven't had any issues with this outsole, whether I have slid out. All of my movements have been secure on court, and that's something that SGA needs on court because he's a very shifty player. He's doing step backs, Euro steps, just stepping through a lot on court past the defenders, and this outsole will keep you covered on any court condition, clean or dirty. And I think you could bring these outdoors, but I think they will wear away pretty quickly. So that is something to note. If you do take them outdoors, I think this rubber compound being a little bit softer will wear away. But on indoors, man, like these are elite, like top notch. These are going to be at the top of the heap for traction here in 2025. They did a fantastic job with this outsole on this model. Very tacky, very squeaky, and just an overall great performer for the traction on the Shai 1. If I had to give these a rating, I would give these a very solid 9.5 out of 10. They are wearing away a little bit here on the medial side. That's a high wear area on my right shoe for me, and it is wearing away just a little bit. Nothing crazy, but you can see kind of the abrasions and that the rubber is a bit lower in that area. But other than that, these are holding me down great. And like I said, a very solid 9.5 out of 10. So as far as the cushioning goes on this model, you do have a injected Phylon at the back of the shoe. That's all you're getting. You're not getting any Zoom air or encapsulated air. You're just getting that injected Phylon. And how does it feel? There's a bit of a bounce under your step. It's decently plush because it's pretty thick, as you can see right here. It is somewhat caged with this TPU wrap, but it is decent at best at the back of the shoe. Now, when you move your way to the front of this shoe, it is double lasted, as you can see right here. There is no midsole. It's just the outsole, and it wraps up to the suede or nubuck upper. And housed within the forefoot of this shoe is a pretty large volume Zoom Air bag. Now, it's kind of like that stick of gum Zoom bag on the Ja Morant's, a long rectangle, but it is thicker. I've held the Zoom Air bag that's in this shoe in hand, and I've seen the one in the Jaws. This is thicker, so it does add a very nice bounce at the front of the shoe. It's very close to the floor at the front. It's basically cored out where the Zoom bag is obviously housed within that. You get a very nice bounce. The rest of the midsole at the front of the shoe is that injected Phylon as well. But right under the ball of your foot, you're gonna feel a nice bounce to your step in this model. And I think that's a good thing. That's something that I could feel right off the bat. I talked to a lot of the people at the wear test and they felt the same. And the more that I played in them, the more that I have liked them. As far as the insole goes, it is just a really cheap kind of recycled ortholite insole. Really flimsy. You can change it out for anything that you do like. I left this in there and I was really able to feel that zoom bag under the forefoot. So whether you're a big player or a small player, I think you should enjoy this setup. If you're someone that likes a lot of cushioning at the back of the shoe, you're not going to get that in this model. And keep in mind, this is $130, so it's kind of teetering on the cheaper side of things. I would have liked to see Cushlon 3.0 or React as the midsole at the back of the shoe, similar to what Sabrina is getting in her shoes with the zoom up front and the Cushlon and or React at the back from her first to her third signature shoe. That's not what you're getting here. I'm sure they will kind of grow things and change things to be better over time. So that's what you're getting as far as the cushioning goes. Keep in mind, it's pretty close to the floor up front. So if you do like that in your hoop shoes, you will get that within this model. But as far as the rating goes for the cushioning on this model, I'm gonna have to give these a decent 8 out of 10. Really nothing crazy. The best portion of the cushioning is definitely in the forefoot. As far as the fit goes for this model, I would stick true to size if you have a narrow or regular foot for the Shai 1. Now, if you have a wide foot, I think you should either try these on or go up half a size, because as you can see in the toe box, it is very narrow and it is very tapered. There's pretty much no extra volume on top of your toes. And that is something that I did feel my first hour within this shoe. Even talking to DG Hoops, I did feel like the top of the shoe was really pressing down on my toes to the point where it was a little bit uncomfortable, similar to the AE1s, but I am happy to say that they broke in rather quickly. Within 30 to 45 minutes, they did break in and that feeling did go away. So as far as the fit goes, again, it's a very snug and secure fit. You have a ton of padding at the back of the shoe. The tongue is very padded as well. So it's just a very comfy and cozy basketball shoe. On foot, the tongue is also gusseted, so you're not going to get really any movement with the tongue around your foot. It's just a very snug and secure fitting basketball shoe. And that's something that I love within my hoop shoes. Yeah, I don't want my foot moving around or having any dead space. I like a one-to-one fit where it's like ultra snug. And that's exactly what I got within this model in my true to size. And that's why they're going to score a very awesome 9 out of 10. Next, on to the materials of the Shai 1. Right off the bat, I love what the brand used here. There is one downfall in my opinion where they could make it a little better, but right off the bat you are getting this neoprene around the ankle portion, which is very comfortable and secure. Running down the tongue, you have that Pro Combat-esque tongue that is very breathable underneath the shroud. Now when you move to the upper of the shoe, you do have more neoprene on the shroud right here that does zip up, as you can see right here. And then everything around this neoprene material at the back and the front is like a very short-haired nubuck material, which is very premium to the touch. It breaks in really quickly and it honestly feels like a customized fit around your foot. A very old school and kind of elegant looking basketball shoe as far as the materials go. Now, where I have some issues with these materials is the fact that they're not breathable at all. This is a very hot basketball shoe on foot. If that is something that bothers you, keep that in mind. I do think if they use the punched out kind of like Pro Combat portion on the tongue on this, like keep this neoprene but have little circular portions running throughout where it's more breathable and the air can get out, that would have been a bit better. But I'm not mad at this look. I think they perform great, they fit great, they feel great, the materials look great in hand and on foot. But that is one thing to keep in mind, is they are rather hot. They're not even close to as hot as the Jordan 40, but just keep that in mind. A little bit of air does escape this neoprene material, so that is a plus. But keep that in mind if you like a basketball shoe with kind of a mesh upper on them. You're not getting that within this model. This material does break in rather quickly. After about 30 minutes, they start to crease up a little bit, and just the way they fit and feel on your foot becomes very much like a second skin with the mesh underneath, and then the nubuck and the neoprene on the upper. But the materials are definitely no slouch. And if I had to grade these materials and just the experience on foot, I would give them a very solid 9 out of 10, losing the 1 point for the lack of breathability on this model. As far as the weight goes within this model, again, this is a US size 10.5, and these come in at 17.3 ounces. So they are a bit heavier on the scale, but honestly, in hand and on foot, these do not feel heavy at all. Pretty much everyone at the event did comment on how light they felt on foot. And then last but not least, the support on this model is amazing in my opinion. Now, what you're getting with this basketball shoe at the back, you're getting 2 TPU heel counters, a lower portion around that injected phylon, and then another portion right around your Achilles. It adds nice support at the back, at the top of the shoe, and at the base. And this injected phylon and plastic plate really cup your heel and just keep your foot on the footbed when you're making those hard lateral cuts. It is housed on the side as well, just a little bit, so keep that in mind. And then another great standout feature with this shoe is the eyelets. So these eyelets right here, as you can see, there's individual eyelets, and all of these eyelets run down into the strobel board. So they are stitched down at the bottom of the shoe on both lateral and medial side. So when you make really hard lateral cuts within this basketball shoe, the mesh upper that's directly attached to your foot with those cables do a fantastic job of keeping your foot on the footbed and not sliding over. Another great thing of a double lasted midsole is everything is seated closer to your foot. So you're not sitting on top of a midsole, you're sitting on top of basically the outsole, and then the material wrapping that, and it wraps underneath the shoe. So everything does a fantastic job when you're making hard lateral cuts, step backs, you name it. In this model, this shoe has you covered. Obviously, you do have this shroud here that does zip up. I don't really think that adds too much as far as the lockdown goes, but I love the appearance. I love zipper basketball shoes. Obviously, the issue 7 for Donovan Mitchell with Adidas has it as well, but I do like the execution better on this model. I've mostly been playing with them zipped up. I think casually I would wear them unzipped like this, kind of like he does. Moving your way to the bottom of the shoe, you have a heel TPU counter right here at the heel. It doesn't really add any support, but it has his logo on it. And then you do have a TPU shank plate that I do believe is sitting on top, near the top of your foot. It offers great torsional rigidity at the midfoot while still maintaining really nice forefoot flex within this model. So everything pretty much across the board. You also have a pretty wide and stable base at the bottom. Pretty much every box is ticked on this model as far as the support goes, in a low top form factor. So I really think Converse, this is one of, if not their best basketball shoes of all time, and the support is no slouch on this model, and that's why they're basically going to score a perfect score of 9.5 out of 10. Again, kudos to the brand, the designers, everyone involved in this model, because you have an absolute hit on hand. And then really quickly, as far as the design goes, I don't really need to say anything else. The design is immaculate, super clean for on court and off court. I love the zipper, I love the materials, the traction, everything on this shoe for the most part is superb. I'm a huge Converse fan. I've always worn the weapons throughout the years. My grandfather has the Rodmans that he passed down to me, which I actually wore to the event, and they ended up cracking on me on the midsole. That's probably the last wear for me. But I would love to see Converse reach into the bag and bring back the Rodmans, the Larry Johnsons, all of the shoes that they have in the bag. I think, if they didn't produce them in mass amounts, but made them a little bit more limited, they would do really well on their websites. And just for people that, kind of live through that era, I know I would pick up all of those pairs. So great job on this model, Converse. Really looking forward to everyone out in the community that hoops, that loves shoes, to get their hands on the new Converse Shai 1. So that's going to do it for today's performance review on the Shai 1 from Converse, a great hoop shoe that I think a ton of people are going to love. here at the later portion of 2025. But as always, if you guys could like, comment, and subscribe, that really helps the channel a ton. And check out my Instagram over at Sneaker Tech Talk, as it is an extension of my YouTube channel with all my pickups, basketball footage, and nostalgia as a whole. Again, a huge shout out to Converse. Thanks for the hospitality and just getting these on my feet a little bit early so the community can see how they perform and if they plan on picking them up. And like I said, this butter colorway is very clean and it's a great performer on court. But like I said, thanks for watching today's video, and until next time, peace.